$300 to the full bidder, $375 and my bid against you, $400.
On January 25th, Swann Auction Galleries is conducting a very special auction. This is from the 20th Century Fox archives, documents from the golden age of Hollywood. These are legal contracts, professional letters, inter-office memos from the Fox legal archive, all relating to the biggest household names, the biggest Hollywood stars that we could possibly imagine from the golden age of Hollywood. But what makes this auction special is not just the really wonderful material that we're selling, but also that all of the funds raised for this auction are being donated to the Motion Picture and Television Fund, the MPTF. This is the first time that a major studio has opened up their archives to sell part of their history to raise money for a charity. The auction consists of 154 lots that we culled directly from the 20th Century Fox legal archives. And when I say we culled them, I mean we culled them. I was privileged enough to be able to fly to Los Angeles with Jeremy Markowitz, the autograph specialist here at Swann Galleries. And the two of us spent 3 days poring over the archives at 20th Century Fox looking for these documents. It was a treasure hunt. We were like children in a candy shop going through legal file after legal file after legal file, looking for documents which somehow we thought would be exciting or interesting to collectors and that would somehow add to this auction and help raise money for the MPTF. In listing all the great things about this auction, it's a rather endless list, but in an attempt to sort of encapsulate some of the fabulous things that this auction represents, obviously the pieces that we're selling are the main stars here. These documents, these contracts, these letters from the Fox Legal Archive really carry the gold standard of provenance. Now what this means is that if you were Marilyn Monroe, or if you were Humphrey Bogart, or you were Cary Grant, or you were Tyrone Power, and you were signing a contract with 20th Century Fox for a period of employment, or to make a film, or to make a series of films, you had to go into their studios in person. You couldn't send a secretary, you couldn't send a representative. You had to go in yourself and in front of a notary public, sign the contract, and then it was notarized. So in the world of Hollywood collectibles, where many autographs might be secretarially signed, when many autographs might be signed by a machine, these contracts, these documents really carry the absolute gold standard of provenance. Their legitimacy, their authenticity is irrefutable, and that in and of itself adds a whole nother layer of cachet to this auction. Jeremy Markowitz, the autograph expert here at Swann, who's been working with this material for over 3 months now, is going to take you on a brief tour of the material and share some of his insights with you.
My name is Jeremy Markowitz. I'm the autograph specialist at Swann Galleries, and I'm going to take you through some of what I found to be the most interesting parts of the sale. The material in this sale relates to some of the greatest stars in Hollywood and some of the greatest films as well. When you're talking about vintage Hollywood memorabilia, the first and only place to start is with Marilyn Monroe. In the summer of 1946, Norma Jean Dougherty was working at a munitions factory, and she had done some modeling for the Blue Book agency and some other photographers, and was starting to make a name for herself in Hollywood. And it was in that summer, on a hot July day, that she met with Ben Lyon, who was a talent scout at 20th Century Fox. Ben Lyon met with Norma Jean for about an hour and took her through some lines and chatted with her about who she was and what she was doing. He then walked her over to the set of whatever was filming that day, and it turned out to be The Shocking Miss Pilgrim, starring Betty Grable. Filming had already finished for the day, and the sound guys had gone home, but Leon Shamroy, who's the cinematographer, was still there and had film left on the reel. So they sat Marilyn down and basically did a Technicolor silent film of her just sitting in front of the camera interacting with Ben Lyon and the other people who were still there. They then took that footage and tacked it on to the end of whatever Zanuck, the head of the studio, was screening the next day. And when he saw Marilyn, he immediately called Ben Lyon and said, "Who was this woman? Is she under contract?" And that leads us to the first lot that we have, which is Ben Lyon ordering Marilyn Monroe's first contract. And that's lot 42. The document is dated July 25th, so it's only about a week after the initial meeting. And what I love about it is that besides going through and listing what the terms of the contract would be, which was very much a standard studio contract for a young star, is that at the very bottom it lists her home address and phone number, 11348 Nebraska Avenue in West Los Angeles, with the phone number in the old-fashioned version, AR32487, and signed below by Ben Lyon. Also of note is who the memo was written to. The memo was written to George Wasson, and Wasson was the head of legal at 20th Century Fox at that time. So there are many documents in this sale that relate to him in some way, shape, or form. Also of note on this document is in the bottom right-hand corner, there's what looks like a scribble is actually a signature, and that's Ivan Kahn. And Ivan Kahn was essentially Ben Lyon's boss. He was the head of talent at 20th Century Fox at that time. Which brings us right to the next lot in the sale, which is a memo from Ivan Kahn to George Wasson, dated August 14th, 1946. It's an internal memo saying that Norma Jean Dougherty's sound and photographic test would be that day. And when I first saw this, I didn't understand what was going on because Norma Jean already had her screen test. It happened right after her initial meeting with Ben Lyon. And then I realized that this was a sound test because her first screen test was without sound. As far as I know, nothing is known of this screen test. So the question is, where's the footage? Norma Jean is discovered she has not one but two screen tests, and then she signs her first contract. And although many biographers claim that she signed it as Marilyn Monroe, she in fact did not. She signed it as Norma Jean Dougherty. She hadn't yet changed her name. And that didn't happen until December of 1946, several months later. In Lot 45, perhaps the most amazing piece in the entire sale, is Marilyn Monroe's birth announcement. It's the internal memo from George Wasson, the head of legal, to Harry Brand, who's the head of publicity at Fox, informing him that Norma Jean Dougherty has changed her name to Marilyn Monroe. So now we have Marilyn Monroe. She's changed her name, she's been trained at the studio, she's ready to go, and still no film credits and nothing coming soon. She was eager to do something. And it was arranged that she would appear on a radio show to promote another film that Fox was doing. And the radio show was the Lux Radio Theater Radio program. But she wasn't even a star on the show. She was merely to appear during intermission of the program to promote the film. And per her contract, and really every studio contract from that era, she needed strict permission from the studio to do this. So Marilyn appeared on the program. It's a very short segment, and in exchange, she gets $100. What I think is the most impressive fact about this document is the signature. This is probably one of the earliest known signatures of Marilyn as Marilyn Monroe. It was only in December that she changed her name, so it's only a couple months later, and as a young star, it's not as though people were requesting her autograph. It's also interesting to note when you compare the signature to some of the later signatures in the sale, how much her signature changed. And while there's still elements to it that are similar, this one is so neat and proper, whereas the later ones are very much a star who's made it, has extraordinary self-confidence, and scrawls her name quite rapidly, Marilyn Monroe.